Last time on Square Roots, we meet Tabin, an orphaned farmer and part-time thief, whose biggest problem is finding time to cram for the big spelling bee. But when the evil empire attacks and Tabin discovers he has the ability to breathe fire, he embarks on an epic dragon quest to discover his long-lost past.
Hello and welcome to Square Roots, the classic RPG podcast. I'm Matthew Van Zant, joined as always by John Ticklebug Brandon.
I'm just a big old ticklebug. I'm just a big old ticklebug.
And series special guest co-host, Stan!
Yay!
Does Stan get a last name?
I don't know, Stan. Do you get a last name?
Yeah, why not? Stan Ferguson. I give my last name on everything else I do. Why not here?
And not with us this entire series is the person that I know you're looking for right now. You're waiting for me to say her name. You're waiting for her to pop in and say her name. It's not going to happen. Everybody take a deep breath. Shattered expectations. Here is where John needs to drop in. I'm Vanessa. Except for she's not actually here.
No.
And Jim is still on hiatus, so it's just going to be the three of us. And this is part one of our brand new season, where we'll be covering first time series entry onto the show, Dragon Quest V.
Dragon Quest Season 19.
Jesus Christ, is it really?
Yep.
God.
We have been doing this too long.
Oh no.
You know, I've never played a Dragon Quest before.
You haven't?
Never.
Oh.
This is my first Dragon Quest.
Well, that's Dragon Quasi.
Do you get introduced to all the strange kind of, what would you call that? Idiosyncrasies of the Dragon Quest series?
Like the
This
slime.
actually is my first Dragon Quest as well. So both Staniel and I are little baby fresh eyes.
Oh no, I'm little baby fresh eyes.
Oh no. I am not.
More of that, please, Stan. I like your little baby fresh eyes. That's a cool sounding baby.
I've never played this game before. Everything is so new to me. Little baby fresh eyes.
My apologies, I should say at the top, if my voice sounds a little off. I have had a cold. I feel like I sound funny. Probably don't, though. If I didn't clarify it originally, this is a classic RPG podcast, the only classic RPG podcast on the internet, the first, the last. We are the Alpha and the Omega, where we play a classic RPG one chunkarino at a time, and then we come back here and talk about it, kind of like a book club for games.
Yay! And this is a great place to start because it's a new game, and welcome, new listeners. We love you.
New Game Plus.
Yeah.
This time you get to play with the final party from your original run after you've kicked all the scrubs out.
Oh, wow. Are we the final party?
Apparently so.
Oh. But Stan hasn't leveled at all.
Oh, shit.
We gotta level up Stan.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Stan, I don't know how you want to do kind of plugging They See Me Rollin', but I feel like, considering this is the first episode that you're on, it might be a good time to talk a little bit about you and where you're from and what you're doing here.
Cool.
Tell us your resume.
Tell us your resume.
The group of us, have been buds for a while, even predating Square Roots.
Yeah.
But aside from that, the thing that I would plug would be They See Me Rollin', our real play tabletop RPG podcast. And as a matter of fact, this couldn't be better timing because we are starting a whole new campaign where...
Whole new campaign?
Yeah. We just finished our first campaign, which went 2.5 years. I was the DM. Now I get to be an NPC where I play a pubescent vampire named Night Boy.
Wouldn't you be a PC?
NPC?
Yeah, you'd be a regular
I am
PC.
a player character. And my co-host Hayden, who played Jelly in the previous season, will be handling the GMing. So check it out if that's a thing that you check out.
I want to know a little bit more about this new season. You're starting a new game system as well.
Right. The game system the system itself is powered by the apocalypse. The game is Masks, which was inspired by Teen Titans. So it's about teenage superheroes.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. And the 3 superheroes will be the aforementioned Night Boy. There is Ivan's
Night Boy.
Yeah. There is Ivan's Robo Girl. It's like a walking tank. You know, the one. What is it? The ED-249 or whatever from RoboCop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Imagine that, but with a screen and a happy face and a skirt. Then you've got Annie, which is 7 A's and an I. And then we have our new co-host, Bobby, and they will be playing Ray, which is a creature or person from another dimension who's basically gas, but can solidify itself into a person. So very weird.
Yeah. Well, I could see the use of it. Is it a stinky gas? If someone like takes a big whiff of that gas, is part of his body now in their body?
Their body would be there in that person's body. Yeah.
Oh, can you explode out of them?
Oh, you know what? I'll have to ask Bobby if they'd be willing to try. But apparently we're not supposed to be killing people because we're superheroes.
Oh.
Yeah, but Night Boy already has a body count from a previous bonus episode. So we'll see how that goes.
All right.
That sounds fun. And, personally, I'm a big fan of that whole aesthetic of that new Teen Titans era, teenage superheroes.
Well, it's a new thing for me, cause I'm not really I was never really into comics. I love comic book movies, but just the comics themselves, I never really got into. So I have really no familiarity with it. I'm just basically playing myself when I was 13. So a real know-it-all dirtbag.
And when can we expect the first episode of this new campaign to air?
The official first episode will probably, let's see, that'll be dropping the Sunday. Well, we're going to be doing 3 prologues, one for each character. So the first one will be for Ray. That has already been released by the time this was released. Then 1 week after that will be Annie. A week after that will be Night Boy. And then the week after that will be the first full episode with all 3 of them.
Okay. We will have to look at the schedules and see if we can mention this all again or bring that back around when that first episode comes out. That's a good idea.
Cool.
All right. Well, Stan, I know that you're new to the show, but I also know that you're familiar with the show, so we're just going to dive right into what comes next, and that is the classic Square Roots segment where we tell you how we leveled up. Stan, since you're the new guy, why don't you start us off? How did you level up this week?
All right, so this week I leveled up by, in one day, watching Attack of the Clones and then Spider-Man 3. Now, real quick context. I hadn't seen Attack of the Clones since I saw it in the movie theaters.
That was a mistake.
I never saw Spider-Man 3. So,
also,
Attack of the Clones, I loved it from beginning to end for a really weird reason. I enjoyed it as a good, bad movie. Like, all the love scenes, I was just cracking up at. All the Detective Obi-Wan scenes were just fun. I genuinely like those scenes. As stilted as the dialogue is, I dug it. And then the rest of the show is just is like this weird mix of really enjoyable and really stupid that made me laugh. So I think it's the most entertaining of the prequels.
I agree. I think it's the best of the prequels. And last time I said on the show, I got heckled by the rest of the Square Root staff.
I am with you this one time, John.
Are you? Because Stan is saying that he enjoyed it because it was good bad.
Yeah.
But John genuinely loves that movie.
No, I don't.
He
I
knows it line for line.
I think it's the
He
least
hates
bad
sand.
of the prequels because
See,
I think
you just...
I think the worst prequel is Revenge of the Sith, and the best one is Attack of the Clones, and in the middle is Phantom Menace.
See, my least favorite is Phantom Menace because it just bores me. I don't like the pod race. It's just,
Yeah,
it's
it is
15
terrible.
minutes of just doesn't matter, no stakes.
Nothing could ever take away from the fact that that movie has the best Jedi fight scene ever put on film. And that is why it is the best Star Wars movie.
But so that was my reaction to Attack of the Clones. And as for Spider-Man 3, I think it was perfect. I didn't watch it when it came out.
It was perfect. Stan Ferguson.
Loved I loved Spider-Man 2. So I was like, oh man, I'm hearing so many bad things about Spider-Man 3. I don't want to retroactively ruin my experience with Spider-Man 2. Mm-hmm. So I watch it now with hearing all the terrible things. And I was like, you know what? The Eddie Brock stuff I can leave it. But I really kind of liked everything else.
I just thought it was weird. Like the whole stuff of him
paced.
turning evil, kind of.
I dug that. I thought it was so silly and fun. And, you know, what I like about Sam Raimi, I don't know how it works as far as comic books are concerned or the character or whatever. But as far as a Sam Raimi movie, that was very much on point.
Right.
You know, it reminds me of the raindrops keep falling on my head part of part 2. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it felt in line with everything else in the series. I dug it. And the Sandman stuff, the problem with that is just there wasn't enough of it because he was the most compelling of the villains. And Harry getting a very convenient amnesia could have been done a better way. Cause instead of there was that really cool scene where Harry is having coffee or whatever with Pete. And Pete is crying and tells him that Mary Jane has left him. And then Harry is like, it's me. And then he walks out and then Harry winks at him and smiles. Like that was a really awesome scene. And had the whole thing, instead of him having amnesia, was just Harry playing out the long con to screw with Peter. Mm-hmm. That would have been much better than amnesia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. I personally don't care what anyone says. I will always love emo dancing Spider-Man.
Oh God!
How dare people disparage that fucking amazing scene?
The jazz,
of him fucking walking down the street.
The jazz,
so good.
The jazz club was great.
The jazz club. Doesn't he backhand Gwen Stacy in the jazz club though?
No, he backhands Mary Jane, and that part was awful. But everything up to that point was hilarious. I was cracking up.
What happened with? Something happen with the secret best character, the Russian girl next door?
Oh, her?
Didn't something bad happen to her in that one?
No.
Okay, because she's my favorite character in the series.
Oh, she's adorable.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking that Lauren
is.
Lupkus was her, but it's not Lauren Lupkus.
Was just thinking that, Stan. Stop. Get out of my head, man. Get out of my head. Those are some interesting takes, Stan. If you're done, I actually would like to butt my way in here.
Let's hear it, man.
And the only reason why is because I also want to talk about Eddie Brock. Gang, I was sick all week and I watched a lot of movies, and I'm going to list them in order of best to worst. Number 1, Creed. Maybe one of my new favorite movies ever. Holy shit. Michael B. Jordan is the best actor alive. Sylvester Stallone, shockingly good actor as well. I guess I shouldn't be shocked. He is an Oscar winner, but it still kind of blows you away when you see it.
I mean, he won
it's
it
his
for
own
writing,
fault.
didn't he? Or did he win it for acting too?
I don't know.
No,
feel
he's
like
never won it for acting.
Okay.
He won it for writing. But that said, he was considered a really good actor, and then he just decided, he's going to, make money.
Yeah, it's funny because his big comeback from, let's say, started, what do you think, a decade ago, and he really leaned into old guy action movies. Mm-hmm. And watching Creed, I was kind of like, why? Look at how good you are as an actor. Why don't you just do this? I would watch more of this. Anyway, now listen, it is no secret that Michael B. Jordan is an incredible actor and has long been one of my absolute favorite actors around, and Creed really solidified him as every time he is on the screen, I want to reach into the screen and take a bite out of him because he's electric. I don't mean that sexually, John. You do not need to look at me like that.
He's electric.
He is fucking electric. He's amazing on screen. He should be in everything. But I could go on about that for way too long, so I won't. I was listing these movies from best to worst. So that was best, and now here's all the rest because they're all the worst. I watched Venom, Mission Impossible 5 or 6, and The Predator.
Are you
they were all mediocre.
Mission Impossible fan?
No, I'm not actually. That's the thing. Everybody really loved it, and I thought it was really great. I was really engrossed in it, but I also kind of didn't care the entire time I was watching the movie. I don't care about Ethan Hunt. I don't care about his friends. I don't care about any of the characters in that movie, and it it knocks it down a solid, letter grade for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's probably how I'd feel too.
It was the best of the three, I suppose. The Predator has got a lead actor whose name I can't be bothered to know. He's no good at all, and I don't know why he's the star of this movie. And it's also got what to me felt like a problematic kind of setup with the main character and his group of soldiers, in that they are all mental institution patients.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, you've got Thomas Jane with Tourette's. You've got a buddy whose name, the actor I don't know, unfortunately, who's kind of your depressive, suicidal buddy.
Okay.
And yeah, it's weird, but it's, I think, worth seeing if you like the Predator series at all.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I wouldn't bother with that movie at all. But that brings me back to the final one, and the one that I wanted to talk about, because Stan brought up the character. I watched Venom. And boy, that sure is a movie that got made, huh?
Was it like a turd in the wind?
No, because the Venom fight stuff was actually pretty fun, and it looked great.
How do you feel about Sony marketing it now as a rom-com?
I think that's pretty funny. I think that, so it feels like there's 30 minutes of Eddie and Venom getting to know each other that just got cut out of the movie. And I feel like it's a blessing and a curse, because I think it maybe would have made the movie better, but also would have made the movie longer. And I don't know that I could have stomached another minute of it. It was not good. The characters are all nothing. Nobody could care about Eddie Brock or his girlfriend or her boyfriend. The villain, actually the guy that played the villain wasn't bad, but, yeah, boy, I don't know what to say about that movie. It's weird that it exists.
What about Eddie Brock himself?
I mean, Tom Hardy's terrible. I don't know why he's in this movie. It makes me question why he's in movies, except I love him in Dunkirk, one of my favorite movies.
Wow.
But he's just so fucking neurotically dorky and boring and dumb and predictable and cliche and unintelligible because his fake accent is terrible.
Oh, poor Tom Hardy.
Yeah, but again, it's another one that, despite all that, I'd still recommend. It's an hour and a half. It's got some fun in it. It's got some good jokes. The Venom stuff is fun. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't stick around for the end credit scene, but I know what happened. So, yeah, I guess that's it. Does anybody want to talk about Venom? Anybody got any experience with Venom?
No.
Stan, did you see it at all?
No.
I have not seen it either.
I mean, he's definitely better than Topher Grace Venom, so that's nice.
It's not a high bar.
No, it's not a high bar. God, it's a weird movie. I wish you guys would have seen it too recently. It would have been more fun to talk about it if we'd all seen it. Boy. All right. Well, that's how I leveled up. I leveled up my movie watching skills. John, how did you level up, buddy?
Well, since we're playing a game with no voice acting, I decided I should put something on in the background that I don't have to pay too much attention to, but I could look over if I wanted to. So I put on a show that Stan was raving about.
I still love it.
Indie show called Cheers. And I started with episode 1.
How's that going for you?
Well, I during this marathon of Dragon Quest, I went through 14 episodes of Cheers.
Jeez. That many?
Well, because it's 22 minutes each.
Not that many. Yeah.
That's about 5 hours.
I watched, about 4 seasons of Scrubs over the last 5 days. It's not hard to binge these old sitcoms. Anyway, so what do you think of it, Johnny?
It's definitely weird going, like, I think the show starts in the early 80s, right? So in 82, 83. So it's really interesting. All the establishing shots are just make me so nostalgic from when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Just the cars going around and everything. I love Diane. I remember disliking her when cause I've seen the show quite a bit.
Man, she was my first crush when I was a kid.
When I was a little kid, I would watch whatever was on TV. Like I would watch literally, if I could, 8 to 10 hours of TV a day, and which seems insane to me now. But I've seen probably most episodes of Cheers several times. I just don't remember them because I was a little kid.
Right.
In syndication, I remember seeing the finale on the air.
Yeah.
And this, so the first episode's a little creaky. It gets better. Coach is a very odd character. He's just like the real dumb guy.
Yeah.
His daughter is played by that lady who became like the receptionist on Moonlighting, and I love her.
Yeah, but she doesn't rhyme in Cheers, and that's the disappointment.
Yeah, but I love her so much. And the episode with her marrying a jerk was a legit great episode of television.
Oh, it's a very sweet episode, and Nicholas Castellanos an unbelievably good actor.
Yeah. And let's go back to Diane for a second, because her just being a super idealist, overeducated, but never actually settled on a degree person is very reminiscent of my experience trying to get a degree and never doing it, and sort of going through 80 different what do you call that? Not masters, majors. Yeah. And I really identify with her and her terrible mistakes. Definitely. And there's one episode in the first season about Ted Danson's drinking that was surprisingly effective. It was more like a little play.
Yeah.
And so it's a good like some of the Norm is a bad character. Norm is like what the hell? His joke, he's like do you know the comic strip The Lockhorns, Matt?
Yes.
He is just like they're talking about getting some old bag, and Norm's like, "Oh, my wife's at home," you know, and he's just talking about how he never wants to go see his wife, how his wife is ugly and awful and doesn't have sex with him, and how he hates his wife. Get a divorce.
Yeah, those jokes used to fly in the 80s, man. But they don't work too well these days.
Just get a divorce. If you hate her, why are you married to her?
What you find out is that they really love each other.
Then why is he at the bar all night?
Because they need an extra character.
Oh.
I know. The problem is that's what it comes down to. They need a regular. But the problem is if you have a regular at a bar, then that means that they're likely a functioning alcoholic. So they just kind of dumb it down a bit. You know, he's always drinking a beer, usually nursing it for several hours.
Yeah. There is, Norman Cliffy, who I remember loving as a kid. I just don't like them at all now. And, I guess that's just, life experience coming at it from different angles. I definitely appreciate the adult writing better, and it's smarter than I thought the show would be. So yeah, Cheers is an interesting show, and that's my level up.
All right, we did it.
We did it.
Gentlemen, we've leveled up, and now it's time to dive into the inaugural what are we going to call it this week? The quest log for this series
is The Adventure Chronicle.
The Adventure Chronicle.
Oh, that sounds so
the
serious. The
dorkiest name we could come up with.
Would you like to come into the Adventure Chronicle? We can talk about a lot of things.
What about The Confessional?
Well, I think that's what they called the confessional in the first couple of games.
Well, no, that's what it is in this game too. Goes to the he gives confession, and the confession goes into the Adventure Chronicle.
Oh, that's right.
All right. Does he even call it an Adventure Chronicle? I think he just says, "I'd like to chronicle your adventures."
It's chronicling your adventure.
Yes.
It's kind of weird. Can you imagine? I mean, I grew up Catholic, and I can't imagine going to the priest and giving my confession. And he's like, "Well, let me put this in your Adventure Chronicles."
I'm definitely not opening up the game because I want to see what it says. All right, well, let's dive in. So, Dragon Quest Episode 1. Do we have any backstory we need to talk about? Was there a text scroll at the beginning that we need?
Not really, no. You start with a queen named Mada who just gave birth to a bouncing baby boy. And her husband, King Pankraz, wants to name it Madison.
Did I ever tell you how I tried really hard to name my son Carson?
Oh, okay.
Get it? A lot of people, as listeners know, I go by Matt and I go by Van.
Oh.
And I wanted to name him Carson.
But isn't a van technically a truck?
Oh.
So he'd be Truxon.
Oh, is that your
Truxon.
joke? Oh.
God damn it, John. That's the normal response to that gag.
So I had a text entry screen here, but I guess on the phone version it asks you to name, or it chooses the name of your save file.
Yes. What was your save file names?
For me, it was name your character, and I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I named him Rambler.
Rambler.
Me, it asked me to name my save file first, so I just named it Stan. So I ended up getting named Stan.
Mine is Vander. It's almost always Vander in these games. It's not exciting. Hey, it's not exciting. It's not a fun gag each time. That's just the name I use.
There's something happening at the castle. Something happens at the castle, and they have to get out of there real fast. And they're being attacked or something.
Someone comes and I think warns them of something, and then it just fades to black.
Yeah. The child is born, but this is while the castle appears to be under siege.
Ooh.
And cut to being on a boat. And you're 6 years old, you're a little kid, you can't read.
And I love how you find out that you can't read. You go around looking at bookshelves and it tells you, this is a joke book or whatever, but you can't read.
Yeah, and because there's tons of stuff. One thing I love about the Dragon Quest games is every gravestone and most bookshelves have a joke in them. So you can do, if you'd like. And this is all optional. Although if you read a lot of books, I know in later games you can get recipes and stuff. So that's usually good to do some reading. But I don't remember if there's anything like that on bookshelves here.
Not yet, at least. Most of the time there was one time that it gave you a joke. I don't remember what the joke was, but it then ends it. But you can't read, so you don't get it. So I'm like, okay. But most of the time, it just tells you that you can't read.
Haven't talked about yet?
What's that?
So this game originally came out on the Super Famicom.
Oh, yeah.
Dragon Quest, which was called Dragon Warrior, 1 through 4 came out on the Nintendo as well, and regular Famicom. But Dragon Quest 5 and 6 were Super Famicom games that never made it to North America.
Yeah, and you would have never guessed it was Super Famicom by looking at the graphics.
What do you mean?
Like, I looked up the screenshots from the Super Famicom version of Dragon Quest V, and they look like slightly clearer Nintendo, regular Famicom. It does not look good.
This game is gorgeous, even on DS.
This remake that we're playing is beautiful.
The animation is like it's a combination of sprite animation and like the animation where they're kind of bending segments, sort of like Flash style animation,
right? And there's some 3D.
A little. The
environments can tend to be 3-dimensionally built.
What's weird is it looks like the battle environments also are, but they never move.
Right, you can't turn in there. Oh,
but it looks
like when you get
polygons.
into a fight and the sprites move.
Yeah,
that's those are 2D sprites, but they do such a great job of making them look 3-dimensional.
Well, I think there are, as I said, like there's segments to the sprite animation, and I was talking about the fights specifically, but yeah, the monster attacks look amazing.
Yeah.
They're just super fluid and really fun, and they have tons of different animations for all the different things they do. Which is, you haven't played a Dragon Quest game before. Monsters do a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah.
We'll get more into that, but like, they'll often not take a turn and then it'll describe what they're doing. Like they might be watching you or laughing or dancing a little.
Right.
Which just basically gives you a break from attacks.
Right.
And I really love that. And sometimes
I figured they were planning to do a mega attack afterwards. That was
not always. There are some, especially bosses, if they're charging up for an attack, it'll say like, it's taking a deep breath in.
Yeah.
But sometimes they just are, it skips a turn and it's like, is distracted by a mote of dust.
Right. I haven't seen
it's really annoying
yet.
Because your characters will do it too.
Well, usually it's the monsters in your party will do it.
Or maybe it is the monsters, but I have a lot of problem with me giving them a command to attack and my party just deciding to defend for fucking funsies, I guess.
Or do something completely different.
It's really cool.
But the sprite animation in this game is, for the battles is amazing. We're just saying that, like, it's so fluid. I wish games actually looked like this back in the Super Nintendo era.
Not a chance.
Yeah. There's another game that came out around this time, Bowser's Inside Story, has very, very similar super fluid animation. And
John, what are you playing on?
I am playing on Nintendo DS. What are you playing on?
Are you playing on a DS or a 3DS?
I'm not playing on a 3DS because, unfortunately, with a 3DS, it doesn't match the pixel ratio of the DS. So either you play it like super shrunk on the screen, or you play it like blurry, washed out, stretched, and it doesn't look good.
Ooh, annoying.
Yeah. So I'm playing on an original DS Lite.
That's cool. I am playing on iOS. Stan?
I too am playing it on iOS. And so I will say this.
Modern point boards.
The controls suck.
Oh.
I
disagree with that.
It's that analog stick that you on the screen, the virtual analog stick.
It is, but it is a static virtual analog stick, which, trust me, after playing Final Fantasy VI, which had a moving virtual analog stick, the static stick is much appreciated. It's not great, but I'll argue with you because while the virtual analog stick isn't great, the tapping through the menus is pretty easy and fluid and fast.
Oh yeah, the menus are great. But we'll get to it when we talk about the Fairy Kingdom. But walking on ice when you have a virtual analog stick really sucks.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And the menus, while fluid and nice, aren't amazing because of the way I don't even know how to describe it, guys. Just, what is there? Items and bag. The way items are held, the way your inventory is managed, the way you manage healing and equipping and changing out your party and all of that. While it works, it is multiple screens deep and it's very frustrating and annoying, and it works, but it sucks.
Yeah, and God forbid you forget to move some healing medicine out of the bag before a fight.
Well, that's a Dragon Quest staple. That still is a thing in Dragon Quest XI that just came out this year.
Whew, boy.
I don't have a problem with that so much as a concept, but with the way the menu is handled in this game, it is a chore. So anyway, where are we? Did we get to the cave?
Yeah, well, we're on the boat.
We're on the boat.
We're just talking about where Dragon Quest V came from and how Dragon Quest and Dragon Warrior are the same game, which you probably knew, but maybe you don't, and that's cool.
Yeah, that confused me a lot. Isn't there also we've talked about this before. Isn't there also a Dragon Ball turn-based RPG on like the NES or the SNES called Dragon something?
Yeah.
But it's not Dragon Ball?
Yeah.
I swear to God, it's Dragon Warrior. Maybe it's Dragon Monk or something.
We've talked about it before. I can't remember exactly what it was called.
That's great. So we solved this little riddle that I'm about to look into. But I'm going to do it anyway.
On this boat, there are some people on there. You meet Baron Briscoletti and his two daughters who just sort of walk by. They are not a big deal right now, but they will be a big deal.
Well,
eventually.
one of them was friendly and one of them
didn't
was
really
like,
notice that.
I'm going to ignore you.
So you get off the boat. Eventually, your father is Pankraz, but you are just a regular dude. You're not a prince.
Pankraz.
Pankraz.
Can we talk about how Pankraz looks? Because
Sure.
that is a fuzzy man.
Yeah, he is one of Akira Toriyama. God, I'm sure I said it wrong, but you know his name. He's one of Akira's Toriyama's classic designs of like middle-aged man face.
Mm-hmm. He's got
I recognize him from 1,000 things.
Big mustache and big poofy hair.
Oh yeah.
You've seen a character that looks just like this in Chrono Trigger and Dragon Ball and a ton of other properties.
Anything else Toriyama's drawn.
Yeah.
He's also draped in, like, robes, I guess?
Yeah, he's got like a purple robe.
Yeah.
And I think you can see his chest hair in the pixels.
Yeah, a little bit, I think.
He's a walking wall of masculinity.
Yep, and he can destroy anything in his path. So you go from the boat to the village of Wheelbrook. I got into a couple of random encounters here, and you can't really do anything because I don't think you even have a weapon. You might have a stick at that point, but your father just obliterates enemies.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm gonna follow up on it, even though we've already know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
There was a game called Dragon Power in the US that was a Dragon Ball game.
Wow,
Right.
I didn't even know Dragon Ball existed back then.
Yeah.
I didn't either, and I've always gotten that game mixed up with the Dragon Warrior games, which then gets me very confused when we start talking about Dragon Quest and Dragon Age, which is what we're playing next.
So many dragons.
We've already announced it.
Have we?
Yeah, you did.
Oh.
I certainly have talked about it.
Oh, well. There
Yeah,
we go.
You guys have like a whole thread about it on your Facebook page.
Oh no. All right. So we are staying with Sancho.
Yeah.
Bianca's not his daughter.
Yeah, well, according to what I was reading, Bianca's his daughter. I thought when I was playing it, until I took these notes last night, I thought Sancho was his manservant, and I didn't know who Bianca was. But apparently they're staying in Sancho's house, and Bianca's his daughter.
I thought Bianca lived in the other village and was the daughter of the Whitakers.
That's what I thought.
I'm 100% sure that's the case.
But what was she doing over at Sancho's house?
Guys, this is, hey, nobody knows what you're talking about.
Okay, let's talk about it. Okay, so you're
myself included.
I guess us versus the Wikipedia of this are disagreeing. To me, Sancho is the Sancho Panza?
You think he might be based off of him?
A little bit, maybe.
Just a little bit.
of to your father's Don
Because he's
Quixote.
talking like this, senor. It's an extremely racist Mexican accent.
Well, no, it would be Spanish accent if it's Sancho. If it's Sancho
If
Panza.
it's Sancho Panza. But I think he's named after Sancho Panza. But I think it was translated by American dudes who, all they know about Spanish is Speedy Gonzalez. It was just like, Christ, this guy talking.
Yeah, he's like, Isa, beautiful. It sort of sounds like Jar Jar Binks a bit.
With random Spanish words thrown in.
Yeah, señorita.
That's how you know it's a real, good fantasy world, is there's also Spanish.
Well, there's definitely all these Dragon Quest translations have weird dialect choices. Some of them are pretty fun. And this one, yeah, so Sancho is a very fat dude who is your dad's best friend. And he's there with Bianca, who I guess some sources say Bianca's his daughter. I thought Bianca's the daughter of people who are innkeepers in the next town. And
I was
Bianca,
confused by that as well.
She's this rascally girl.
Listen, we all know that Brian's going to straighten us out, so let's just wait patiently
Okay.
for our listeners who are smarter than us to tell us what's going on in the game we're playing.
Yes.
Please do, because I think she's the daughter of the innkeepers in the other town. There's a problem going on because someone in the next town over. Do you know what the next town over is called? Easterbrook.
Isn't the beginning of the game here like you walk up and everybody greets you and it's like, hey, we haven't seen you in so long?
Yeah, well, I guess because Pankraz has been out on a trip. Like he takes his son all over the world,
Adventuring with him, apparently.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. I like the fact that you're like a little 6-year-old. It's neat. You're like a cool kid. And you're coming home for the first time in several years. And I like the fact that he can't read. Mm-hmm. So if you clicky on signs, it tells you I can't read that. Mm-hmm. It was hilarious and amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The next town over is Roundbeck.
Roundbeck. Oh God. Roundbeck. It's not as good as
joke?
Count Up to 10. But yeah, okay. So I think Bianca's the daughter of the Roundbeck innkeepers, but someone's saying she's Sancho's daughter. I guess we'll find out. There is a sick man in Roundbeck, and they're waiting to take medicine over to them, but the guy who has the medicine hasn't shown up and is maybe stuck in a cave. But this is the first of many instances where Dad's like, oh, you go play, just don't leave the town. But the town has a dungeon full of monsters.
Yes.
Yeah, but you have a sword.
You have a stick, I think.
You don't even have a sword.
Yeah.
Not really. Well, I don't know. You're 6. 6-year-olds are invincible. Everybody knows that.
Well, I don't know why everyone's expecting a 6-year-old to go inside this cave and save this man.
No one is. They don't tell you to.
Someone
can.
did. Someone was like, somebody was saying go into the cave in the town. And
I think they just say that there's a cave, and I don't think anyone explicitly tells you to.
No, I don't know. I can't remember. I could have sworn someone was suggesting that I do it, and I thought that was unusual.
Well, you go. I didn't talk to that person, but I did wander around, and then I was like, oh, I'll just go into the cave. So you go into the cave, fight so you have early slimes and the Drakis, which are my favorite. I like both the slimes and the Drakis. The slimes are just these super cute dewdrop slimes with happy faces on them. And they're amazing. And the Drakis are these adorable bats.
And then you smack them with your stick until they're dead.
Yep. Dragon Quest has the same monsters every game. Mm-hmm. Usually there's a couple of different ones, but the same ones come back frequently. And I love the designs.
They are very cute designs. I actually
most
do like
games
the monster
that we
designs.
play do this, but it's very cartoony and silly, but it's pretty entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. You're playing as a 6-year-old and you're having an adventure, and you're smacking slimes on the head.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, you can't go everywhere in this cave because there's a second part to it you can't walk into because an old man's blocking the door to his house and the way to the other side of the cave's through there.
Oh.
I don't know if you saw that.
I knew there was an old man blocking the way to his house, but I didn't know that it led to another part of the cave.
Yeah. So you can't see all of the cave in this go around, but you go through it. And in the bottom floor, there is what looks like a gnome, but I guess it's just a dude with a hat, and he's under a small rock.
He is, and he can't get out from underneath that small rock.
Yep. He's got some real 127 hours going on there.
Fortunately, a 6-year-old boy comes along and lifts the rock that the man can't move.
Great job.
I mean, to be fair, he's clearly some kind of superboy who is able to beat the snot out of fully grown adults. And giant monsters.
So you get a weird stone at this point. And you seem to keep getting these weird stones.
Well, this is the first weird stone that you get, and someone alluded to it earlier in the town. And then when you talk to them later, they say, yeah, that's the kind of stone I was talking about. I was like, cool. I don't know what it does. I don't know what use it has, but I'm going to keep it.
Yeah. I still have that stone and have no use for it. I'm like 30 hours into this game.
So Pankraz then takes you to Roundbeck. And at Roundbeck, you bring this medicine, because now the guy can deliver the medicine. So you bring the medicine over and help Mr. Whitaker, who has a very bad cold, to see if he will live. Just like Matthew.
So is that just you and your dad?
Yeah, that's just you and your dad. So I love fighting with your dad because he just does 800 points of damage every time he swings his sword.
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
He's pretty great.
Yeah, he auto wins the fights for you. It's great.
Yeah. So you get at the inn, and Bianca's super bored because they're just her family, I think, are doting over the sick guy. And she's like, oh, we should go out and play. And so you wander around the village, and there are these kids bullying a cat. And this cat looks like
that affected me. That got me in. I was like, you motherfuckers.
They are, this cat looks pretty rad. It looks like a little tiger with a mohawk.
Yeah.
And, they say, well, we found him, so he's ours. Hey, if you fight the ghosts at up to 10 towers, you can totally have this cat. But they know we won't because we're just little kids. Right?
And that's how much they want to torture a cat.
Well, everyone else it's talking about the death of Count Up to 10 and his wife, and how that tower is now haunted.
I definitely did not pronounce it Up to 10 in my head. And it's way better when you say it than whatever I said.
I said Uptaten.
Well, but
probably.
You get the joke, right?
I do now.
Yeah, I didn't get it until you said it.
This is one of those localizations that takes the spirit of the pun names from the Japanese version, but you have to make new ones because they won't work in English. And I think some people don't like that it really takes liberties to try and get the spirit of the game rather than the literal translation, which would be pretty different. I think this is something in our translation corner, if Brian has a chance to do it, that you might see the jokes don't work in Japanese and English, or the Japanese jokes, so they make new jokes.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
So, when you finally go to bed, and Bianca wakes you up in the middle of the night, and
what is wrong with her?
Well, she wants to go on an adventure. She's like a cool tomboy.
Oh, she wants to save that cat by going out in the middle of the night to a haunted towers. I mean, that's bonkers.
Oh, she's cool.
It's particularly weird when you realize that we live in a world where ghosts definitely exist.
Yeah, and we plan on beating them up.
With our sticks. And you know what, Stan?
What's that?
We do.
Yeah, we kick their ass.
So that confidence that she has in herself is well placed.
Yeah, or the confidence that she has in you.
I died about 5 times in this tower.
Yeah, this is where the game really gets going, and you realize that this is going to be a grindy game, which is annoying.
Yeah, because you don't want to go into those towers until she has learned her spells, and she starts off with 0 spells.
And you also kind of want to get weapons and stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we talked about this in our chat, but we should talk about it here.
Your father sleeps with his eyes open.
Your father sleeps with his eyes wide open, clutching his pillow tight.
Yeah.
Exit light, enter night. Your father, this game is very grindy. When you die, you keep your XP. You lose, I believe, half your gold.
Yeah.
But you keep your XP. So you can really use whatever level that you're on as a place to grind and just kind of go in and get as far as you can over and over again until you're able to muscle through it. At least that was my experience. So
right. And the best places to do that are not in the grass, but in the mountains or wherever there's forest trees. Mm-hmm. So if you just go around those, you'll get higher level enemies and then you can go right back into the town. So that's what I ended up doing. And I was able to get what I needed within 15 minutes of grinding. So it wasn't real bad.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the mobile port does not have anything like the Final Fantasy VI mobile port did, where it kind of let me auto fight.
Yeah.
Though it is fast at least. It's just a few clicks, one-handed. One-handed, you're able to click through it all pretty fast. But
in the tactics, though, you can get your party to
automated.
auto fight, can't you?
I think so, yeah. I think you can tell everybody to just... So if you want to just hit one button and smash through these, that's doable, I think.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Mm-hmm. And they're like the fights, especially at the beginning, can be pretty hard because you probably don't have enough healing items at first because you don't have much gold at all.
Right.
And it takes, by the end of this chunker, I had like a lot of gold, but for the first bit, I had problems trying to buy armor and weapons.
Yeah, they don't give you much. In fact, I think most of the enemies don't drop any gold in the beginning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but once you get out into the world, they start dropping, a little bit of gold here and there, and it gets a lot easier.
Yeah. Once you get the boomerang, fights get way easier. Oh,
yeah. Well, once you get heal, that's a great spell for me to have. Speaking of, like, every so often in one of the treasure chests, you get something that will permanently upgrade your stats. I have just been loading them up on the main character since I know that I'm going to be playing the main character for the entirety of the game. Is that your strategy?
Yeah, unfortunately, like either the cat or the boy are the best ones because everyone else kind of comes and goes from your party.
Okay.
I would recommend just using on the main character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, everybody know about what Matt do. The weapons are interesting in this game in that they work differently in combat. So a sword will just hit, or a knife will just hit the person that you attack. Mm-hmm. A boomerang will hit everybody on the screen. Mm-hmm. A whip, I think, whips or maces, something. Enemies. Will hit a group of one type of enemy, which these things tend to load you up on enemies, actually. This game tends to load you up on enemies. You'll have, 3 of this thing and 4 of this and 2 of these.
Yep.
And later on, they start summoning other monsters, and it's really fucking annoying. But so weapon choice is key because using the strongest weapon is not necessarily the smartest strategy.
Right. And what's cool is that there is a strategy to it because you can't pick the specific enemy that you want to hit. You pick a group of enemies that you want to hit and
which is a little irritating.
One. But when you get the boomerang, you can say, okay, I know what it's going to do. It's going to go from left to right, hitting harder to less hard. Mm-hmm. And then you can kind of say, okay, this is what I want. Hopefully my party member to hit, depending on who your party member is.
Important thing to note as well, while we're talking about the combat, is that there is no resurrection spell or item of any kind.
No.
And you die and get zipped back to, even if one of your party members dies, you have to turn around and go back to the church and resurrect them.
Yeah.
And it is terrible.
Wait, do you though? Because I've been after a fight where I lose a party member immediately after they have 1 HP.
When you're a kid, they don't die. When you're an adult, they do.
Yeah, you know what? That's right. I
was wondering what that was all about.
Yeah,
I forgot about that because it was easier at the beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible later on. It's awful, and I have not gotten any sort of resurrection spell. But anyway, so combat is a bit of a mixed bag in this game, I guess you could say. It's pretty quick, and it's got a little bit of strategy to it, which can be fun, but it's not super strategic. You don't have a lot of control, and it's kind of a slog to get through the menus.
I know you haven't had a ton of experience with the Phantasy Star games other than 4, but going back now, after recently playing 4 is a clone of Dragon Quest with a different setting, basically.
Yeah, I noticed that. At least I will say this for Phantasy Star. Dragon Quest also has a talk button that you can hit that will let you talk to somebody in the party. But unlike Phantasy Star, in Dragon Quest, they generally just say nonsense bullshit. And it's really frustrating because I want them to be telling me where the fuck to go.
At the very least, if you click on the spell name on Dragon Quest, it'll tell you what the spell does.
Right. Fair enough.
It still has nonsense names, but it tells you what it does.
Yeah. God, Phantasy Star was the worst. I could see a modern Phantasy Star that could be could be really great, but trying to go back, oof. Maybe somebody went through and remastered it like they've done with these.
Yeah.
All right. So
I would love to see a Phantasy Star done with this kind of care that this game had. For sure. I think it would be great.
Let's move on to the next part. So we got woken up by Bianca in the middle of the night, and we went to the tower to punch ghosts. We're Ghostbusters.
Yeah. So you get through there. The front door's locked. There's a cave with a door. That door's locked. You have to use the rotating camera, which is, even on the DS, is slow and awkward. I don't know how it is on the phone.
It's not. It's slow and awkward. For sure.
Okay.
There's a button that lets you return to the default position, which is a nice inclusion. I've played a lot of these games that don't include something like that.
Yeah, you have to click right and left to do that on the on the DS version.
Interesting.
On iOS, it's literally a home button. It's a button with a house on it.
It's great.
So you get in there, you're walking around. Eventually, you find a door up at the tippity top of the tower. And that door lets you in, but as soon as you go inside, some thunder and lightning, and then the door slams behind you. So you are getting out. And then this is a pretty fun, creepy house a la Chrono Trigger. I mean, a lot of the same designers as Chrono Trigger, so there's a lot of Chrono Trigger to this game.
Mm-hmm.
And just walking through, you start walking through all these, coffins, and you can open them up and there's nothing inside, but then as soon as you get to the stairs, they fill up with skeletons.
Yeah, what's up with that? I was
Skeletons.
super upset by that because I checked every single one and it said nothing of interest is inside, and then skeletons popped out, and I think skeletons are pretty interesting, especially to a little 6-year-old.
Uh-huh. They weren't there before, though. You see, if you open them up, they glow and appear when they're inside the coffin, so they weren't there. And there's a lot of skeletons in this haunted tower. This tower's a lot of fun. I think it's definitely one of the better dungeons, especially after the horrible dungeons of Rogue Galaxy. Getting to do some fun dungeons is a nice change.
Yeah, there was a lot to this little dungeon, and they go and they steal Bianca.
They do steal Bianca, but don't you get her back right away?
Almost immediately. I walked past.
She was buried alive.
Yeah, she was buried alive there are 2 graves, one with your name, one with her name. And I just passed right by them and went to the Lady Ghost, and the Lady Ghost is pointing outside. So then I was like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do out here? And that's when I found the grave.
That kid, how long was, maybe 20 minutes? I would have killed myself. I don't know. That is a ultimate nightmare for me. That is my super secret weakness. I do not want to be buried alive.
Bianca was super chill about it. She had no issues.
Well, no, she yells at you. She's like, you could have come a little faster.
Yeah. Well, okay.
I mean, that's fair.
So basically, Bianca's awesome.
Yeah, Bianca is great.
Yeah, I personally would have gone catatonic and never spoken again in my life, but she just mildly rebukes you.
So I don't watch a ton of anime. Is the hometown girl being one of your romantic interests a trope?
Is she a romantic
isn't that
interest?
A trope in everything in the world? Yes.
Is every woman you meet a
No.
potential romantic interest?
No, there's 3.
No.
Oh, okay.
And 1 is a joke.
Okay.
But basically, I think this is an anime thing of there's 2 girls the hero could get with, and one is his hometown crush who's smart and practical or who's practical and tough, and one is the like princess who's delicate and sweet.
Oh.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You after you get Bianca, you start doing some more ghost busting because you aren't afraid of no ghost.
Oh, yeah. You know what we didn't mention at the top of the show, actually, and which ties into what we're talking about right now, is that the subtitle of this game is The Hand of the Heavenly Bride.
It's true.
Really? That ties into what we're doing
5, now? Yeah, because
Okay.
Bianca is a love interest.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Mm.
Stan,
What?
you're going to get married, okay?
But
Just
it's her
prepare
hand that
yourself
I'm worried
now.
about in this game?
Maybe.
In the title?
Maybe you pick the joke one like Matthew.
Yeah. The joke one is the best.
Is she a
it's
heavenly?
basically
Well,
Vanessa.
all 3 of them, I guess, could be our potential heavenly brides.
It's true.
Okay.
But the joke one looks like Vanessa, which is great. All right. So,
Well, should all 3 of us marry 3 different women?
that's what I want to do. Yeah.
Okay, well, Matt's already chosen the delicate princess because he's a delicate man.
No. Matt chose
the
Vanessa.
one that looks like Vanessa.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
I chose the mean one, which should come as a shock to no one.
So, basically I'll have to choose either or how about you choose between the delicate princess or the tomboy?
Why don't let's save it. And you guys can decide when you get there. And
Okay.
then we can talk about it on the show.
All right. So back to the tower. You meet the lady of the castle, the countess, she's got kind of Transylvanian accent.
All the
some
accents
reason.
are spelled out.
She's talking about very strange ghosts. The ghost. And her husband's in the castle, and the forces of Nadira brought in some random undead. I can turn into Italian. Eat the pizza, pepperoni, ravioli.
That's a pepperoni vampire.
Gabagool.
Grab a ghoulie. Oh, do you remember Grab by the Ghoulies, the worst game ever made?
That was
Yeah,
like
we should do
Rare's
that for a
first game
versus
for
one day.
Xbox after leaving Nintendo.
Is this a game?
It is a
And
game
does
by
it star
Rare.
the Ghoulies from the Ghoulies movies?
No.
You will wish.
Well, I'm a lot less interested
I think
now.
it stars a kid who looks like Rascal, so he's got like a backwards hat and he's a blonde boy and it's just the ugliest character design.
Is that a Super Nintendo game?
No, it's an
it's
Xbox game.
Xbox game.
Original Xbox.
weird.
With a theme song that says, grabbed by the ghoulies.
It sounds pretty amazing, actually.
It is
So,
awful. Definitely
you meet the
versus
lady
material.
in the castle, and she's definitely a vampire.
Yeah.
And then you meet the count, and he tells you that everyone was killed, yada yada.
By,
Like, it's pretty fun. They're dancing around. You pass through, like, the main hall. There's,
Yeah.
like, a feast going on.
who the Count and the Baron were killed by. They were killed by the forces of Nadira.
Yeah,
I'm guessing that becomes important later on in the game.
probably.
Okay.
They keep talking about like
I don't
these Nadira people. So there's a giant hall that you like walk on a sort of bridge over, and you see ghosts dancing, and there's skeletons like waiting for dinner and playing organs. It's amazing.
Is this the part where you get put in the fucking soup and they're going to eat you?
In a second.
Almost. Because the
talk to
Baron
the
tells you
king.
to
It was
get...
terrifying.
The Baron
king's
tells
like-
you to find a torch that's in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you go down, you talk to the people in the kitchen, and they're like, I don't want to make this, because they're talking about the special ingredient that the
The haunted housekeeper?
the housekeeper.
Yeah.
Haunted housekeeper is prepping. And, so you get the torch, which is in the kitchen, go back upstairs. Meanwhile, there's someone who told you back in, Round Beck about the tea set you can find, which I did find the complete set of.
I did not find the complete set.
You have to go to the cave after to find the third piece.
Oh, really?
Yes. There's
I
a cave
went to
under
the
the
cave
castle.
after. I got 2 pieces. 1 piece in the cave and 1 piece in the house. So I must have missed another piece in the house.
Oh yeah. So once you get the torch, there's these ghost blocking, holes you can fall through. So if you go back to that floor where you can fall through and get some treasure chests.
Right.
Oh.
And that's how you get the third piece. Yeah.
Well,
so
too late for me now. I'm already.
I know. Well, you probably can go back because I think those are special items for something, or you can sell them. I don't remember. There's a guy looking for them.
You can't sell them.
Oh.
You have to give it to that guy, and I don't know if you can give it to him in the future.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I didn't give it to him because you don't really have a chance. You don't go back to Roundbeck.
That's a good point. Maybe you do give it to him in the future.
Yeah. So at the after you get the torch, you can go up and talk to the haunted housekeeper, and he's like, "Well, you've arrived for dinner. Do you want to be part of dinner?" And I of course said yes because I love food.
Not that it matters if he says no. You have to say yes.
And he's like, "Well, you'll be the main course," and drops you through a pit. You fall into this giant plate that already has turkeys on it. You get salted by the skeletons, which is delightful.
And it bounces off their skeleton forearms, and it's weird and gross.
And there are many turkeys on this thing.
Yeah. You get so they raise up the giant platter you're on to all the skeletons who are very hungry, but you will not be their dinner. You fight them.
Yeah. Or you fight 3 candles or something like that.
Well, they look like skeletons, but they fight as candles. Don't ask me.
Yeah, everything looks like a skeleton, but they're just beasts. Mm-hmm. Or no, beasts is what they call them in Rogue Galaxy. Oh no, it's stuck with me in some way.
They're monsters. So you fight the monsters. You can't fight the skeletons that are playing music for the dancing people, and the dancing people hate it, but can't stop. It's part of the curse of the... Yeah, it's great. Dance.
Just like me. They gotta dance.
They let the old people sit down and not dance because I think they just didn't like watching the old people dance.
Yes. They said they weren't good enough dancers. So you can go back up to the haunted housekeeper, who is now on the balcony, and fight. And this is a tough fight that killed me a couple of times until I got until I got the sword. And I think I upgraded my sword and armor. Then I could finally beat him. But this boss is tricky.
Yeah, I died.
It took me a couple of tries.
I died a couple times until I took him down.
Bianca's got a good spell that does a lot of damage, and once you get the sword, you do quite a bit of damage. But otherwise, you'll do like 1 point, and that's not enough.
In fact, I will say there's not a boss game that I've fought in this game so far.
A boss game?
There's not a boss in this game that I have fought so far that I wasn't the last person alive. Everyone else was always dead, and I was just me. And I got all the XP.
I roasted this guy. Eventually, when I killed him, it was Bianca that killed him. So
right.
I survived the final. The actual one I survived, everybody survived. And we all got leveled up. So... Is this where you get
Thanks for your forgiveness.
Yeah, well, you know.
Well, what I didn't understand was, maybe I was going too fast. He had nothing to do with killing everyone in the castle. They just moved in and started messing with the people inside.
Yep. As you do.
They're just undead dicks.
Well, that's why we're the Ghostbusters. We had to bust those ghosts.
And busting makes me feel good.
And by the way, I tried to not forgive this guy because I thought he had killed all of them, but they won't let you. You have to forgive him.
Yeah, most of the choices in this game, you have to do what they say. Like, there's one coming up with the prince that you have to say yes to. So, you go back home, and the kids are like,
"Oh, wow, you beat the tower. Have a cat."
They're really upset about giving you the cat, but you get the cat. And Bianca, who was the catalyst for all of this. It was like, oh, I can't have the cat. You have to keep it.
This is very realistic kid behavior, however. So yes, it is yours to take care of now. And Pankraz is fine. Is Pankraz a joke?
Pancreas? I don't know.
Is that it?
That's all I kept thinking about. What did you name the cat, by the way?
I went with Percy.
I went with Mohawk.
I think Mohawk is the official name for the character.
Really? Because it wasn't the first choice.
I know, but every time I've seen him referred to, it says Mohawk.
Huh.
What did
I've
you
never
name?
heard that. I think the default is Saber, and that's what I went with.
The default Saber.
Okay.
It's not super interesting.
Maybe it's just that the last time I played, I named him Mohawk. But I just assume he's named Mohawk.
Well, that's what my cat is.
Great. So you grab Mohawk, and then Mr. Whitaker is fine, although it does sound like he sleeps with sleep apnea. So I don't know if he's, he was like gagging during his sleep, but I guess it's the cold he had. Because you can talk to people when they're sleeping, and usually you just get like silly sleep sounds. I love that. I love this game. This game is fun.
It definitely leans on the more cute aspect. Like, it's fun and light, and yeah.
It's a very adorable game. You kind of just want to pinch its cheeks, ruffle its hair, and say, go out and play.
So this is where the game gets a bit weird.
See, I disagree. This is, I think, a great fun way to start the game with this character with the kind of the kid gloves on. You clear out a haunted house, and then you have to go meet some fairies. These are all very like little kid adventures to have. It's fun. It's cute.
Yeah. So you go back, and then they're just telling you to go play by yourself because Pankraz has some thinking to do.
So you go home.
I guess you got a
but
letter
Bianca
from
doesn't come with
king?
you, even though Stan is telling us that she lives with you in that house.
Yeah,
Look,
she doesn't.
That's my sources. I disagree with it myself. But, just in case, I wanted to hedge.
And besides, Sancho obviously has a thing for Pankraz.
And she could be a garbage orphan for as far as we know.
That is true.
We haven't had a garbage orphan in a while. That's not true, actually. We had a garbage orphan last time, and we didn't make a single garbage orphan joke.
True. Jaster was totally... And Jaster and Kasala, both garbage orphans.
Fucking garbage orphans.
And, I know, I guess Chie still had her mom. Anyway.
Put that piece of trash in the trash.
So you are walking around town, and everyone's talking about things disappearing and pranks going on.
Did we mention how when you travel, you're traveling between towns, and you get to like, you just kind of you get this long scene of the kid following behind Sanchez,
Yeah,
no,
Pancho.
It's always
little
straight line. They travel in. Oh God, what is it? Single file to hide their numbers.
Yes. So eventually you walk around and you get to the, inn or the bar. Is it the bar at the inn? It's just a regular bar. And there is a ghost boy up on standing on the counter.
And you just had a bunch of experience with ghost boys, so you're not that worried about it. Like, I got a stick.
No, I got a sword now.
That if you think about it, this little kid and his dad go to town, and then overnight, you make a bunch of money, outfit yourself with some serious fucking weaponry, and your dad's just like, never says a word.
Yeah, he's proud of you.
Son, why do you have a sword?
He's just kind of super chill about it. He's like, I see you're getting stronger. That's cool. Maybe you're not a little boy anymore. Motherfucker, I can't even read.
Well, you can fucking bust ghosts.
He kind of scolds you for doing the tower stuff, but he's like, that's what I would have done at your age. So, I'm real proud of you, but don't go out and do dangerous stuff. Don't put yourself in danger.
But speaking of the ghost boy named Honey,
it's a ghost girl.
I thought it was a ghost girl, but apparently this little fairy has been doing pranks around the entire town. Like everyone's complaining. So that was kind of cool. And you're the only one who can see Honey. No one else can.
Yeah. So this is just, to me, it's because you're a little kid and it's like little kid magic.
Yeah.
This is some Disney movie stuff.
So she says, meet me in the only cellar in town, which happens to be your house, and I'll show you the fairy kingdom that I'm from.
Yeah.
And so you go there, and she creates these steps out of honey, I think. They look like goopy yellow steps.
But whatever's in the barrels, which are probably mead, which is made from honey.
And oh yeah, also the count gives you a gold orb. I forgot about that part.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's important. Also, when you're home looking for the whoever's doing these tricks, you run into a guy wearing a very similar outfit to yours, but with a ponytail, and he's a lot older.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, can I check out that orb you have? Weird. So beautiful.
Yeah.
That guy seems important.
I mean, it seems like it's you from the future.
What?
Well, I guess
What?
no. I guess it was. I didn't put those things together until you said it. And dadgummit.
Really?
Bum bum bum.
Yeah, okay, so apparently with this game, I'm a little slow on the uptake.
Yeah, it's totally you from the future. Which is I think that happens in like every Dragon Quest game.
Does it?
really?
I don't know.
Well,
I haven't gotten there. It just looks like you from the future.
I haven't finished Dragon Quest 11, but in the first town, you encounter yourself as a kid due to some time stuff.
Oh,
So it does seem to be a thing that happens in these games.
Weird.
can't wait till
So-
Dragon Quest time stuff.
So you go back to, so she takes you to Fairy Lee, where Queen Treacle asks you to bring back a flute called the Herald of Spring, which was stolen by a dwarf, or else spring will never come. Also, she says that, that Fairy Lee is soft and creamy.
Yes.
Which disturbed Vanessa.
I loved it. And on top of that, let me see here. I want to see that because I took a screenshot of that.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, and because, why would you not take a screenshot of that line? Because it's the best line in the world. Yeah, here we go. I want to do a dramatic reading of the line.
Okay. I can't wait.
It's Stan, isn't it? Welcome to Fairy Lee, the soft and creamy home of the fairies.
Oh.
That's what
Wow.
she said. Yeah. That's the way I imagine she said it to me.
I am just feeling vaguely nauseous now and
You see, I
tingly all over.
I don't feel like... I feel a little nervous going hard R square roots in front of Stan. I don't know why.
What, after your Bean Valley shit?
Yeah. No, well...
Are you what are you trying to suggest here, John?
Oh, no, it's just something came up in my feed, and it was deviant art about a character. Introduced me to a term I'd never heard of, and this happened like the same day as Stan sharing this picture. A term called a cream pie.
Never. I'm good. I'm good on this conversation. I think, so you meet the fairies.
Yep. And she talks about how there is a dwarf, or people in the town tell you about this dwarf who got kicked out of Fairy Lee because he wasn't like cool with them or something, or they thought he stole the Herald of Spring, and he totally did not.
Well, I was very confused about that because it seems like they're talking about a dwarf that you're going to meet soon.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're like, were they talking about that dwarf, or were they talking about the other dwarf that he ends up telling you about? It was just like,
they're talking about Lot, I think,
Okay.
right? That's his name?
Lot, yeah.
The dwarf who teaches you about lock picking.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just kind of a miscreant, because he does seem to know an awful lot about picking locks,
Yeah.
which doesn't seem like the best thing.
He writes a book about it.
Yeah. And there's another, basically, if you try to go directly to the Winter Tower, that's what it's called, right? Winter Palace.
Winter
if you
Palace,
try to go directly to the Winter Palace, you can't get in because the door's locked. But everyone's telling you about this other dwarf. I just went there first because I was like,
I did too. I was like, they said something about a dwarf in the West. I'm going to go there first.
Yeah. So if you go to this other,
Now, if it had been a dwarf in the East, we were like,
yeah,
That's the East, man.
no,
like, get out of here.
Mm-mm.
The East side
so
of
you
Fairy sucks.
So you go
It's all
to this
hipsters now.
dwarf's cave. There's some monsters
It's all
in
hipster
there.
dwarves.
And this dwarf, he looks
Their
like the
fucking
guy
mustaches.
who had that small boulder on him. He's got like a dwarf hat on, a little gnome hat. And you talk to him and he's like, hey, so I have this book that can teach you how to open that door if you want. Cause Dwight, is it his son? Is Dwight his son?
I think so. Was it his son or his assistant or I don't know. That's where they live. They live in those caves with monsters.
Yeah. And Dwight got mad and stole the Herald of Spring because, well, you find out why later. And so he asked you to go like, hey, tell Dwight to come home.
Yep.
And which is cool, I guess. But he tells you to go through his cave to find that book.
Yep.
It's at the bottom of a cave with some encounters. But it does let you unlock doors.
And it's super easy and fast, which I appreciated. Yep. Like,
there is
none of these dungeons overstayed their welcome so far.
There's a bonus room where there's a hole, and if you fall into the hole, there's an acid pit surrounded by skeletons.
Yeah.
And that was a little spooky.
I did not fall in that hole because I said that's a hole and I don't want to fall in it.
I wanted to because I was wanting to see if there's treasure down there. I don't think there is, though.
No, just skeletons and acid.
Mm-hmm. And so you go back up and go to the Winter Palace. Ooh. So this was fairly easy with a D-pad. You're saying it wasn't great with virtual D-pad.
Because it's not a D-pad, terrible. It's a virtual analog stick. So, and sometimes you slide your thumb up and it's like, oh, you wanted to go down? Or you go left and it says, yeah, well, here you go,
I've
right.
had that problem too. You know, with virtual pads like this, you really just have to tap on the direction you want to go. You can't treat it like you're sliding your finger around. It's not really a virtual analog stick. It is a virtual 100 pad because it's got every direction.
Yeah, I tried many things and it would mostly work, but mostly is not great when it's precision-based puzzles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one's a little tricky if you want to get most of the chests, but most of the chests don't have anything good in them either in this dungeon for whatever reason.
No, you can burn through this dungeon, skip everything.
It's another 5-minute dungeon, which is great.
Yeah.
So you get to the top and you get to Dwight, who doesn't want to be called Dwight.
Nope, he's a superhero now.
He wants to be called Da White Dwarf.
Dwight the White Dwarf.
No, he wants to be called Da White Dwarf. Because it's, I don't know, he likes Warhammer or something?
I don't know, maybe he's racist.
This joke doesn't land.
No.
But a lot of the jokes in this game do, so I was fine with it.
I mean, a lot of the jokes in the game are bad puns. It's not that they're funny so much as it's humorous that they exist.
I count up to 10. That is great. Because you receive the second half of the pun before you get the first half, and then it makes more sense. So Da White Dwarf is someone you fight. He's got a little hood on. He's adorable, and you have to murderify him. Although he lives through this encounter, he just realizes that he was betrayed by the Winter Queen.
The Winter Queen,
who is the true boss of this dungeon. And you see her in her Winter Queen form for 1 second, which is like, I'm the Winter Queen. And then she turns into a monster.
Yeah. It's like, what was the point? Never mind. Just, okay, I'll go with it.
I guess I'll beat you up now.
Mm-hmm. And this is a cool looking, really neat animation boss. I really liked this one.
Yeah.
I don't remember it.
She was swirling balls of ice at you and stuff, and it's just really well animated.
Oh,
I thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah, she was.
I just remember being at this point in the game going, what the hell is even happening? Why am I in a fairy world? How does this tie into anything else we've done? Because right now, every single thing is so episodic. If you don't know the game, like I don't know the game, you're just wondering, where is this going with all of this?
That's kind of how Dragon Quests are. It's like each town is a different episode with a different boss and like a little self-contained story.
Right.
This one I think was a little weak because they really they rush you through this. There's no character development. You don't really get the stakes of it, other than that there will be no spring unless you get the flute back.
Right. And I'm a winter guy, so I'm like, that's fine. Let's keep it that way.
I am too. My bedroom was like 40 degrees Fahrenheit this morning, and it was amazing.
Oh, wow. That does sound great. But once you do beat her and you get the Herald of Spring, probably my favorite thing in the game happens.
Oh, well, tell us about.
Well, you take the Herald of Spring back to Queen Treacle, and
Dwight apologizes.
Yeah, Dwight does apologize, and I don't care because Dwight is meaningless to me.
Yeah.
He's such a pushover in the fight anyway. He's like, why were you even here? So, you take the Herald of Spring back, Treacle takes it and plays it, and then you get this really cool little animation of spring coming back to Fairy Lee. Mm-hmm. And it starts off with these pink leaves growing out from the sides of the screen.
Cherry blossoms.
Yeah. And then cherry blossom petals start swirling around your characters. And it's just very, it's like that one
some
week
nice
of spring.
Music plays.
Yeah, some really pretty music. Like the only music that I was like, oh, this is nice music so far. Mm-hmm. And I thought, hey, this is like that 1 week of spring where spring is worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. And then a really pretty image happens at the end because they say, well, thank you for saving the fairy kingdom. And if you ever need help from us when you're an adult, they basically say, come back and we can help you. And as you get transported back to your home world, a little petal of a cherry blossom falls down with you.
Oh, yeah. And she also gives you a branch. Honey gives you a branch to thank you.
Yeah. And the branch, she says it'll blossom as soon as it's spring.
Right.
Which is like 5 minutes from now.
Right. Because Sancho finds it and puts it on a table.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I should not do any more Sancho voices. Or I can do the Italian voice.
Yeah. I mean, I could do the Latino stuff because I'm Brazilian, but I'm not.
Mm-hmm. But that's Portuguese. That's so different than Spanish.
Well, the language isn't, but I mean, there's so many different accents, but his accent is so freaking obviously. It just.
Yeah, it's not great.
No.
Anyway, so you go back to
go home.
Yeah, you go home, and they're every time you die, you get sent, or every time you rest at the inn, you wake up in bed, and your dad's like, "You're mumbling about saving the fairies? You're having some crazy dreams, kid."
And speaking of your dad, he's got an appointment with the king at Coburn Castle. All right, what's the joke with Coburn?
I don't get it,
okay.
So I don't know. But by this point, I think I had the boomerang, which is great.
Yes.
And I think the next thing I get is I skipped all the other weapons and just went straight to the iron whip after this, because you can get some good weapons.
I still haven't gotten the whip.
Oh.
Now, there's one thing I liked on the trek to Coburn Castle, because that's where you go immediately after all of this. You follow Pankraz, and that there is a person that you meet on a bridge whose name is literally Checkpoint Charlie.
That was great. Oh, and also we haven't mentioned it. Mohawk becomes your companion.
Yes,
and it's fighting alongside with you, and you can equip like fangs and furs and stuff on him.
Yep. And when he does what you say, he's awesome. When he doesn't, you just wonder why he's in your party at all.
Yeah, Honey was in your party kind of doing that too. Like sometimes she'd attack, sometimes she'd heal you.
Well, no, Honey, you don't control at all.
Yeah.
Whereas Mohawk, you can give orders.
Right.
So with Honey, it was like, fine,
I think it's
whatever.
reflective of the fact that he's like a kitten and he's playful and does not want to do what you say.
Yeah, cat's going to do what a cat wants to do.
Yeah. Right now, my cat wants to sit next to me and let me, she wants me to pet her.
And my cat is doing the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And my cat doesn't exist because I don't want one.
I
So,
like them.
speaking of not wanting cats, you go to the Castle of Coburn.
Yeah. Which has some literal castle intrigue going on.
I know. You've got the whole mom of the prince. Well, because, basically the king says hi to you, but then it's like, oh, I've got grown-up business to talk to, but with your dad, so why don't you go run off, maybe find the prince to talk to.
Oh, God,
And
that
what is it
took
that
me
you
so
figure out
long
here?
to do.
Well,
There was
it's kind of
one
hard
night
to
I didn't
find out
talk
where to
to.
go.
And I kept going around the castle multiple times trying to get my dad to stop talking to the damn king.
Yeah.
Just
You
like a
have
little
to-
kid.
You have to talk to Harry. And I think that's the trigger for the first part. You have to talk to Harry and his mom.
Because I talked to Harry and I went back to my dad. And he was like, yeah, go explore some, kid.
And what's the situation here? Is it that the king's first wife is dead and he's remarried and has a stepchild?
Yeah, his first kid, Harry's a piece of shit. And his queen consort wants her kid to be the king. And
her kid's
what's
just
his
like
name?
Willie or something like that.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want to be king.
Yeah.
He just wants to play. And Harry is like a real Jauffre.
Yeah. Harry's a total Jauffre.
Well, you are my lackey. You are too
I mean, he's a
stupid to be
brat.
that.
I don't know if I'd call him a real Joffrey. He's not torturing people for funsies.
No, not yet.
Seems like he could. He does torture people. He does puts like frogs in their soup and stuff like that. Pranks. He does pranks.
Yeah, he's a real prankster.
Everyone hates him, and the queen definitely wants to get Harry, or the queen consort wants to get Harry out of the way to make her own son king, because she doesn't like having the son of some other lady.
Right. And then there's also something about kids being abducted around the kingdom.
Yeah. So you have to walk around this castle about half an hour until you find the thing that triggers the next event.
Right.
Which I thought was tied to Harry, but maybe
I
isn't.
thought so too. And apparently I ended up having to talk to a knight that told me about the kids being kidnapped around the kingdom.
Oh, okay. I guess you have to talk to everybody. So eventually you do get it. You go back to the king, and your dad's gone. And he's like, oh, he's off to talk to Harry. So you have to go back to Harry. And here's where you get a little bit of an annoying thing. Harry tells you get the lackey medal.
Well, before that, Pankraz tells you to make friends with him because Pankraz can't be bothered to do his job.
Well, he says the kid hates him.
Well, then, you know what? He is the person in charge there. The kid's not his boss. He's the boss. True. He could just go in there and be like, kid, I don't care if you hate me. I am sitting here and watching you, making sure nothing happens to you. You got a problem with that, you can go to your dad. But now he's just like, can you make friends with him? He doesn't like me.
Well, the kid, so you talk to Harry and he's like, well, you look like you'd be maybe be worthy of being my lackey. Why don't you get the lackey medal, which is in this chest in the other room, stupid lackey. So you do that. The chest is empty.
Yeah.
You go back and he's gone.
Yeah.
You talk to your dad and your dad's like, oh, I didn't see him leave. You go back in and you repeat until you
figure out that you have to
dad to go
search the
look for
room.
him, and he's there, and your dad tells you just make friends with him, okay? I don't have time for this. So the thing is, you have to find the secret passage that he's been getting out of the room with, and then when you do that, he's real mad at you, but he doesn't have time to be mad at you because he gets abducted.
Good.
Yep.
Fuck this kid.
Yep.
See you, kid.
Yeah, like that music comes in and kicks in. It's like, like, oh man, this is important, serious shit. And I just walked away.
So you have to tell your dad he's been abducted, and the dad chases after the abductors. And the game doesn't really tell you where your dad goes. He's just like, I'm off. I'm going to find him.
Yeah, and not only that, but he says, let's go rescue him.
Yeah.
and
then
he
runs
just
off.
runs off without you.
Yeah.
The only clue is if you talk to people in the town around the castle, they say, oh, there is a tower or ancient ruins up in the northeast.
Right.
They take off on a boat, right?
Yeah, they have a
the
raft.
kidnappers do.
Yeah. So we get a little scene of the kid getting dragged off onto a boat, and then the boat goes through the moat around the castle and then lands on the other side of the castle, and they just walk through the town.
Yep.
I went and spent a long time over there trying to find them. It was really frustrating.
Yeah, this section could have telegraphed where you need to go a bit better. But anytime you try to use the talk function, it's just your cat going, gaga grr. Which doesn't really help.
Yeah, like a cat says.
A baby cat.
Gaga grr.
It's a baby cat.
Okay? Like a kitten says. Gaga grr.
Yep.
I'm trying to imagine what that actually would sound like coming out of the mouth of a cat. Like,
I don't know.
Horrifying, I think, is the obvious answer. So, I assume you all looked it up in a guide or fucked around for a while like I did until you find some ruins to like the northeast.
Now, I remembered someone said there were some ruins in the northeast, so I went to the northeast.
Mm-hmm.
And I died a whole lot.
I got this is where I got the iron whip. There's the enemies around the castle give you tons of money. So if you need money, pro tip, just grind around the castle.
That's what I ended up doing after dying 3 times on my way to the ruins.
Yeah. The ruins are kind of tricky, and there's a bunch of areas you can't go to yet. So you basically just need to make a beeline to where your dad is.
Yeah.
There is a room full of the muscle men kidnappers who are Dragon Quest has very specific townspeople models. And one of them is a massive power lifter in leather harness and a metal pig mask with horns. And
so we'll call him John's boyfriend.
Yeah. There is a specific version of him with a pink helmet in Dragon Quest 11 that I haven't got to yet. Apparently everyone says, John, your boyfriend's in this game. It's just him with a pink helmet. And in Dragon Quest Builders, which I know Matthew has played, there's so much homoerotic jokes about them. Like always being in the baths together and working out.
I don't remember that.
It's in the one town that's full of the muscle men.
I don't think I got that far.
Oh, okay. It's a pretty fun game. But yeah, these characters are, at least in the American or the English translations, very beefcakey gay, which is fun.
They're very open about what they did as well.
Yeah.
Like they tell you everything.
We kidnapped that little brat.
Oh, we sold him into slavery. Oi!
Hilarious. So you go, you find your dad who's fighting some easy monsters. No problem.
And what's annoying about that is if you could get to your dad, like if you were just, it wouldn't matter what level you are, because once you get to that point, you don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because your dad is there to heal you and fight everything.
Right.
And so you fight these monsters. He tells you, we got to go find the prince. You go through a couple more dungeons, find the prince, find a raft. The prince, that tells you to escape with the prince while he fights off bad guys. And on the way out of the cave, you are interrupted by bad guys.
Yeah. And one very specific bad guy.
Yeah. Is that, what's his face?
Lodja, I think it is.
Oh, that's right. It's like the Bishop Lodja. And he kicks your ass. This is a fight you cannot win.
Yeah, I was really upset when he kicked my ass that fast. I was like, oh, come on. I
held my own against him
minutes.
pretty well, but it's like very obvious that you had to die. So
yeah, to be fair, I only had that thought for 1 second until the next screen popped up.
Yeah. So you do get destroyed by him, and then your father comes to rescue you, and he sends Rocksteady and Bebop to fight you, which in this case are like a rhino man and a horseman.
Something like
I love the horseman model.
I think it's
the beefcake horsemen. These big smiles on their faces.
Yep, they put.
I think one is a boar. But
is
it's
that what the other
Ron
one
and
is?
Slon.
Yeah. And the horse one is, his muscles are always moving and flexing as he fights. It's very disturbing.
It's hilarious.
And well animated. So yeah, the first time you fight them, you destroy them pretty fast because you're Pankraz.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even control that fight.
do it. You just watch him.
Yeah. But then Lakja takes his little what do you call that? The thing you reap with, like a Grim Reaper, a scythe.
Scythe.
He takes his scythe and holds it to your little kid neck and is like, if you fight my friends, I will kill your son. So don't do it. And your dad doesn't fight and gets destroyed by them and explodes in a giant fiery crater.
Oh, real quick about Laja, since we've been talking about the weird accents.
Yeah.
He talks in a very strange way. And I think it was based off of the character in the Eastern European character in Ghostbusters 2. Because
really?
The first thing he says is, "Wahaha, you are the naughty, naughty children, for that you try to fleeing away. Now you will
he's
to
like,
learn your lesson from teaching of great Bishop Laja. Enjoy." And I took a screenshot of almost everything he said because it's friggin' hilarious.
Okay, well, yeah, let's go through this.
All right. So he says, he continues, says, "Wahaha! So it is you. You are the one who is defeating my poor little pawns." And that's what he says to Pankraz.
Yeah.
"And it is time that you will learn of the wonder that is Order of Zugzwang."
Oh, yeah, they've mentioned this Zugzwang
Yeah.
a couple of times. And Zugzwang's like a real philosophical concept.
Is it?
Yes.
I don't know.
I've never heard of a Zugzwang, and I kind of laughed immaturely at it. But and when he threatens to slice your throat, he says, "But I wonder how you are reacting if I do this."
Sounds like Magic Brian from the Adventure Zone.
It's like, if you are not considerating for the life of this child, then please go on and make your best moves.
So Zugzwang is a situation found in chess and other games or in real life where you have to do something, but everything you do is bad for you.
Oh, so
You
it's the
cannot
Kobayashi
pass.
Maru,
Yeah, kind of.
the no-win scenario.
It's not a no-win scenario. It's just you are forced to move, and this move will disadvantage you no matter what. That is Zugzwang.
Okay, so it's not ultimate loss like the Kobayashi Maru.
No. It's a move where no matter what you do, you're going to lose something.
Right,
So I
but
guess
not
it is
everything.
sort of Kobayashi Maru-ish.
Similar concept. So anyway, Pankraz get murdered, y'all.
Is he?
He explodes into a pile of ashes.
And I took a picture of that, too. I was like, holy shit.
So
He's
your
just a black
young
spot on the
protagonist
floor.
gets to watch his father get beaten to death by monsters. Mm-hmm. And is then sold into slavery with Harry.
After Pankraz explodes into ashes, the cat walks over the ashes and is like, is the cat going to use this as a litter box?
Oh, shit, that would have been great.
Because the cat's just left alone.
Yeah, the cat just looks kind of sad. And that's a cat. The weird thing is, you got two kids being sold into slavery. One of the kids is a giant asshole. Even when he gets rescued, he's like, "What took you so long?" And the other one is you. And so the only person I ended up feeling bad for was the cat.
Mm-hmm. So that's it. You get sold into slavery, and the game's like, "Do you want to save?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's a great time to save," because we'll have to find out what happens to the slave kids next time.
So where are we playing to next time?
For the next episode of Square Roots, we'll be playing until you get the marital organ.
John, do you have a bullshit minigame corner you want to talk about this week?
No, I've been like the game is prepping you for some bullshit mini games because it's giving you all these TNT things as a like prize for opening chests or
okay,
opening
so
cabinets.
I didn't do anything with those things, so we weren't supposed to yet.
You don't get to the town where you can.
Okay.
And that is definitely Matthew took a screenshot of it. It looks like a real bullshit mini game.
Anyway, well, if there's no bullshit minigame corner, then I guess it's time to talk about what we were squarely against. Stan.
I think it's safe to say I am squarely against these controls because
No.
I had a hard time in the ice castle. Hopefully there's no more ice castling for me.
What about you, John? What are you squarely against?
I am roundly for the haunted castle.
Ah, yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Basically, anytime we've played a JRPG where it goes to like a haunted castle, it's almost always a good time. And this did not disappoint. I had a lot of fun with the Count and Countess.
And there's so much going on in the background. It's great.
It was a lot of fun. What about you, Matthew?
Well, I am roundly for Fairy Lee, and its sweet creaminess. It's great. It was fun. It was Shakespearean. It was cute. It was a good time.
Shakespearean?
Yeah, sure. Like Midsummer
absolutely.
Night's Dream.
I guess so, yeah.
Fairies.
Little Tempest.
Any of those fairy plays. Cream
All right.
pie.
Well, that's it for the main episode, I guess. We did get an email, and I will read it.
Oh, I love emails.
Short one. There's actually, we got two, but one of them's longer. I'm going to have to go through and edit that down. So for now, another email from our friend Ryan Miller.
Miller.
Wait. That's not what I thought it was. Here we go. Ba-doop, boop, ba-doop, boop. Fuck, never mind. We did that one already. Forget everything I just
Do the
said.
longer email. Let's do it.
I'm not sure about that one. Let's skip that.
Okay.
We'll pass over doing letters this week and just jump right to the Patreon plug. John.
Yeah,
We have a Patreon.
we do.
We recently made some changes to it, so why don't you tell me about what listeners can get if they subscribe to our Patreon?
Well, for $3 whole dollaroos a month, you get our Instant Classic and Versus podcasts, and also any other podcasts that are on there. So any of those podcast episodes, and you're definitely going to get alternating Instant Classic and Versus. And Instant Classic or Versus episode for November, which just came out, is The Quiet Man.
Excellent.
Square Roots
episode.
versus
That was
The Quiet Man.
super funny. And
It's the worst game I've ever played.
It features Jim,
It does.
who deems it an instant classic.
The Quiet Man is one of the best games we've ever played. It's better than the Beatles, basically.
For December, we'll be releasing an instant classic episode where we'll be talking about God of War, the 2018 Game of the Year.
Game of the year.
Game of the Year.
Boy.
Game Year.
But I thought the Game of the Year was Red Dead Redemption 2 that everybody loves.
Who cares about Rockstar
I think
games?
it's going to be
They're terrible.
Like one or the other.
Are you
But
playing Red
there's-
Dead Redemption 2, Stan?
No, because I've heard the controls haven't improved from the last one or even GTA 5, and I hate the controls in GTA 5.
I just don't care about a Rockstar game. What about you, John?
I have some issues with the text of the politics that are in these games, which we can get into sometime. I think we have talked about. We've touched on before.
Yeah.
But also, for $5 a month, you can be part of the Superfan Voting Club, where you get to vote on at least 2 games a year and usually some verses. And I'm going to try, I kind of want to pressure Matt into doing an instant classic vote, sometime like early next year. And we can all like suggest a cheap short game or something fun. We'll figure it out.
We'll see.
I want to play some Undertale or like, what was the other one that I was really wanting to play for it? There's Undertale. I'll figure it out. Anyway, there's a lot of great games out. And, that's our Patreon.
One other perk that comes with being a patron is that you get to have your name read out in list form on the show by our very own John Brandon.
John. Wait, what about you? Do you want to do it?
I can't do that.
You're too sick?
Yeah.
Let's
go with that.
Sick.
Sure.
Okay.
Sick of this fucking list. Mm-hmm. It's the longest list ever.
It's great. All right. Well, let's talk about this list. Because we got Aaron Bachman, Andrew Wyant, Artie Pavlov, Ashley T, Benjamin Navner, Bobby Midkiff, Brady A. Berman, Bree Girth, Brian Pitt, Brian Stone, Brody Toy, Cameron Show, Calman Moser, Kiva Moser, Chris Moser, Chris Penyak, David Green, David Shook, Devin Sloan, Eric Garby, Florian Jonas Kramer, Gene Bailey, George Armbruster, Go Cry Wolf,
George Armbruster.
Yeah, George Armbruster.
Yeah, they've been there for
Huxley
a while.
Iguana, Jake Dickerson, James Hostetler, James Platt, Jonathan Ellsworth, Jonathan Lee, Joseph A. Rogers, Josh Anderson, Julia Zanella, Julian Titus, Justin Benoit, Justin Ham, Mecca Khan, Megan Sullivan, Miguel Torres, Mothman Mothmas, Mandalorian, Marmalade Makes Mass Money, Nathan Poirot, Nick.
What the fuck is happening?
That is Stan.
Yeah, that's me.
God damn it, Stan.
Owen Marble, Patrick Coover, Patrick W.R. Bears, PJ Enns, Race Jenkins, Randy Pierce, Resty Kamada, Robert M. Pullum, Robert T., Ross Hartley, Ryan Miller, Sam Harrison, Samu Mitchell, Sean Walsh, Stu Skeel, the God King of Switzerland, Tom, Tracy Tanoff, Tyler Petty, Vanessa's mom, Vanessa's Holiday Cheese Plate Fund, Ward Childress, Wonder Swan, Xavier Krieger, and Cyril the Wolf.
I think that more of our listeners are catching on to the fact that they can change their name, and we will read whatever their new name is that week, because we repull the list every week.
Yep.
See, that's what happened with Star Wars Minute.
If you want to send us an email, you know our email address. It's squarerootspodcast@gmail.com. If you absolutely cannot be bothered to send an email, please come see us at our Facebook group, the Square Roots Podcast Group for smart, cool, very attractive people, or tweet at us at Square Roots Pod. Thanks to Mohawk Gaymer and Subversive Asset for their cover of Toward the Horizon, the Dragon Quest V world map theme. Check out Mohawk Gaymer and Subversive Asset on YouTube. Links for both in the show notes.
Please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you screenshot your review and post it on the Facebook group or Twitter, John will tell you how you leveled up. We did it.
We did it. 1
episode down.
Yeah.
2 hours. Wow. Stan, you talk a lot. I'm kidding. This is going to be like this, actually. I noticed the combat and stuff isn't a lot of the game. There's a lot going on, so there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. All right. For the Square Roots Podcast, I'm Matthew Van Zant. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Before we do that, let's just take a minute for a new corner we're going to introduce called Stan's They See Me Rollin corner.
Oh, well.
Stan.
Yeah?
We talked about it at the beginning of the show, but now might be a good time to remind people who are bored and have just finished listening to this episode and are thinking, what should I listen to next?
Well, you should listen to They See Me Rollin, because I threw in honor of this show, a character whose name is Garbager, and I made him the head of an orphanarium.
Oh, you killed me in that show. All right, listeners. John's going to definitely try to figure out how to drop a link to They See Me Rollin in the show notes as well, so that if you are finishing up now, just click on that little link that's already right there in your podcast, machine, and go listen to that. And for the Square Roots podcast, I am Matthew Van Zant.
I'm John Brandon.
And I'm Stanessa. Bye!